to do an interview here today with Debbie. A lot of you know her as Heavy Dobby. She has a channel on YouTube. We'll put a link in the article below. And the reason that I want to talk with her today is because she has a story about sugar addiction as well. And I really want you guys to hear it because I do get a lot of feedback from you guys. And a lot of you struggle with the HCG protocol because of having this sugar addiction. And I'm very well aware of what that's like. I've interviewed people who don't have sugar addiction and the protocol was actually fairly straightforward for them. And then there's people like me and and Debbie and others who there's this other underlying issue, and by addressing it, that can really help a lot more people, I think, succeed on the protocol overall. So we're just going to talk about her story with that today to help you guys figure out what you could do. So welcome, Debbie.
Well, hello. It's so good to see you again.
Yeah, I know. We actually got to get together in Oregon in real life earlier last year, and it was really fun to meet in person. So recently, you made a video actually talking about this whole thing with getting off of sugar. So tell
hmm
me, tell me what sugar addiction is to you. Like, what would you consider that to be?
Well, I think it first of all starts with my story. And when I was about 9 years old, I was in my heart was abandoned by my family and sent away to live with other family members. So I really I needed comfort. I ended up living with a family, my uncle and my aunt, for a while when I was 10. And my uncle had a candy vending machine business. His garage was full of cases and cases of candy bars
Wow.
that were free to whenever I needed them. So I had learned to find my comfort in food, but it then became an addiction to sugar because I literally believed that I would sedate myself with sugar. I didn't know it at the time. I didn't have labels for it. I just knew that I wanted and craved sugar to the point of even to last year. And I'm almost 57 years old. I didn't have a label for it, but I have learned over time what that meant, what a sugar addiction meant. I would actually try to fill up on sugar.
Yeah.
Um, you know, Forget that. There were days when I would look back at what I ate and it would be all sugar.
Yeah.
And as I'll explain later, it was food that becomes sugar as well.
Right.
But often it would be sugar. It
Yeah.
was not unlike me to just eat
Yeah.
candy bar after bag of candy after bag of candy as
Yeah.
my daily routine.
Yeah. And then when you would do that, would you feel kind of, because I remember for myself anyway, when I would do that, there would be a brief period of time after eating a bunch of sugar that I would feel like this relief, like peace, like happiness and peace. Would you have that
Oh,
experience too?
absolutely. I would often fall asleep or just be very, like I said, I would be very sedated,
Yeah.
and exactly what you just explained.
Cool. Yeah. So, and that's why it's like you're trying to get that because, yeah, it makes you feel good for a little while, right? Yeah. So interesting.
Exactly. And
Interesting.
it to be no surprise, I am a diabetic.
Yeah. And I was heading that way, when I
Yeah.
was with what I was doing. I remember one time, so I knew where I was headed, but since I'm younger and hadn't been going on for so long, but I remember eating, I don't know, a whole package of cookies, and like I felt good for a while, but then my blood sugar, went up, and I checked it, and it was high for me. It was like 140 or something, which is not also not good. I mean, as a diabetic, it can get way higher than that, I know, but I felt weird. Like I could tell, like my body just felt weird, and it wasn't. And I was like, why am I doing this to myself? But yeah, it was like hard to stop. So yeah, it's kind of weird.
And over the years and recently, I've learned that there are articles you can Google so much about sugar and just the chemical reaction that your brain actually has
Hmm.
when you do consume sugars, and how it's even more addicting than heroin
Yeah.
and cocaine. it really is, there is an addiction that you can, and literally can label yourself an addict.
Right. Yeah, and I totally believe that, and it's good. I feel like that's the first step in being able to address it, because realizing that it is that allows you to maybe take more drastic measures, you know. I think at first it's like my husband will be like, "Well, why can't you just maybe fill up on healthy food and then just eat a little sugar after?" You know? And I finally realized, like, I try to do that and it's like that just does not work for me. Like it just doesn't work. And finally, like, I'm going to accept that I'm different and that I'm never going to be able to eat the way my husband does in that way, because he's not addicted to sugar. So it's just simply a totally different scenario. And that means you have to treat it uniquely, you know?
Exactly. And here's one thing that a lot of your audience, I think, will be able to relate to. I smoked cigarettes for 17 years. It wasn't until I told myself when I got off cigarettes that even one hit off of a cigarette would cause me to go back to smoking, because it did. I quit and went back just by trying one cigarette.
Gotcha.
So I had to tell myself that I could not have that one cigarette because I was addicted to cigarettes. And I struggled on a day-to-day basis for 1.5 years
Wow.
before finally my head said, "Oh, I don't have to struggle any longer." So I took that
Wow.
and applied it to sugar when I finally realized what I was eating was causing my blood sugars to go up,
Gotcha.
or my addiction to continue.
Yeah.
And I have to tell myself, you know, if I have sugar
Yeah.
or any form of sugar, I'm right back where I started.
Right. So tell me then your process, because you went through a process recently of kind of breaking free from that. So tell me, what did you do?
Well, I think it starts with, and I think those of your audience that know me know that I like to do a lot of research. I like to share that information. And it wasn't until I learned enough about sugar to realize what a dangerous field I was playing in. Not only is it sugar like the granulated, but for me, it ended up being sugar, high fructose sugar, grains, which includes wheat and rice and corn and all of those, and fruit. Eh, you know,
Yeah.
it includes fruits.
Mm-hmm.
It includes too much protein consumption, and all of that. Our bodies will make, because we're sugar burners.
Yeah.
Our bodies burn sugar to stay alive, but we don't hold very much of that glycogen. You know, what is it? So many hours, so much amount.
Yeah.
That we are going to crave whatever our body needs, and our bodies will make it. If we're completely off of sugar, if we have made that step, which I did, I still craved sugar. I still craved all that stuff. I was a fruit eater. So what I learned was all the different things that can be made into sugar if I consume it. And that's when I had the breakthrough. So January 1st, my cousin and I decided no sugars, no starches. And that was easy enough. But the problem was is that I had jumped off the wagon, and during holidays, I ate sugar freely. And oh, my blood sugars were over 400.
Oh, it's scary.
It was scary.
Yeah.
And in January, they stayed up there and they were 350. And I couldn't get them down. And I was eating protein bars and I was eating low carb. And I faithfully, from January 1st till today, have had one Oreo cookie.
Wow, that's good for you.
But that wasn't the victory.
Yeah.
Because I still was having problems. And no fruit. It included no fruit. And then I learned more about our bodies and what we burn. And now I control the amount of protein that I consume. And my blood sugar this morning was 99.
Oh my goodness!
So
Wow.
and it has been every day going down just a little bit.
Wow.
But the process is, by learning, you become more responsible for the knowledge that you have.
Right. Yeah.
And I just learned what I needed to do, which was to control a lot of stuff. And
Yeah.
a whole nother topic, but I'm no longer a sugar burner.
Mhm.
My body now doesn't crave sugar because I've gotten rid of anything that it can create sugar with.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that as far as at what point did you stop craving it and what caused you to stop craving it, do you feel?
Okay, so about 66 days into um, oh, seriously, about 66 days from January 1st, I was no sugars, no starch, except for that one cookie. And then I started learning about being a fat burner instead of a sugar burner,
Okay.
and started learning how fat will help you lose fat. And there is a gal who is in Portland. She's a nutritionist and probably has other labels. Her name is Nora Gedgaudas,
Okay.
and she has a beautiful analogy about becoming a sugar burner or a fat burner. And it has to do with what many of us have in our homes to keep us warm, and that's a wood stove.
Mhm.
And she said you can be a sugar burner, and you can keep that fire going, which is your body. You can keep the fire going by either putting in kindling constantly and often, or you can keep that fire going by a log.
Mm.
And she says alcohol is a sugar, and that's like throwing gasoline on the fire. You have to constantly be throwing gasoline. Sugars and grains are more your kindling and your twigs.
Yeah.
And then um, and then the fruit is just a little different, and the proteins are the larger twigs and logs.
Yeah.
But the best burner for your body are the fats,
Yeah.
and how you can change your body so that it'll burn fat, because you have 40,000 calories of fat that you can burn as opposed to just a few hours of sugar. So with that, I don't crave sugar any longer because I don't need sugar to keep going.
Cool, cool. And that's because like your body has transferred over, like you said, right, to the fat burning.
Yes,
You're saying ketosis, right, basically,
I
or
am. I
yeah,
am. Nutritional ketosis,
right,
which, like I said, is a whole other subject, but it's
yeah,
part of my story.
yeah. No, I mean, feel free to talk about it. Yeah, because
Yeah.
yeah, totally.
If anybody is interested, there is a book that I highly recommend when you're wanting to understand just the sugar part. And it's written by Robert Lustig, who is the guy who did the truth about what it was it on YouTube. He didn't know it was going to go viral. Sugar: The Bitter Truth.
Yeah, okay.
He wrote a book called Fat Chance.
Oh yeah, I got that actually. I remember you mentioning
I
it
love
before.
that book,
Still remember the
and
whole
I
thing, but
have it in the audio version because
cool.
I don't sit down and read very often,
Yeah.
for very long. And
Mm-hmm.
I love to hear, because I commute over 2 hours a day.
Wow, yeah.
So I have it on audiobook. But if you want to know where to start, get that book, and
Fat
he
chance.
explains in our terms, our lay terms,
Cool,
what your body does when it
cool,
consumes that sugar and high fructose corn syrup.
cool. So that really helped you open your eyes to what was going
Oh,
on, and
incredibly. And then Ron Rosedale,
okay.
Dr. Rosedale,
Mm-hmm.
he helps diabetics get their sugars down. He's the one that really explained clearly about the protein part,
Cool.
which is probably very foreign to a lot of you.
Yeah,
Is
about
that
eating like too much protein.
too much
Right.
protein actually goes
Exactly.
into what they call gluconeogenesis,
Yeah, right.
and
Okay.
that makes sugar.
What I'm wondering about then is when you initially got off, I'm wondering like how long did it feel really hard, I guess, making that transition because like you said the biggest problem is really that craving. It's like if you don't crave stuff, it's easier to make good choices, right?
Exactly,
So
and
how long tell me about the transition or when did it stop feeling hard or how long was it feeling hard or
well, I think it was always hard when I just took out the sugar part.
okay.
It wasn't until just this recent round
Yeah.
that I realized that we are all of us, every part of us is a hormone,
Mhm.
and hormones actually control our thoughts.
Mhm.
And there's such a, I don't know how to explain it, but I know that those of us who have experienced know now, you really can stop thinking and resisting eating sugar.
Yeah.
It just goes away.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's when our hormones
Right.
have been balanced. So how long did it take? I think when I finally, I did no sugars, no starches, January 1st,
Right.
bam.
Yeah.
And it was okay, but it was when I really understood all the other things
Mhm.
that I just, I just, it's just
It
gone,
just went away. Yeah.
you
Cool.
know.
Yeah, and
But,
oh, go ahead. Yeah.
but like a cigarette, I know all it takes is that one candy bar, that one bowl of ice cream,
Right.
and I could be right back.
Yeah. No, yeah, totally. And along with what you were saying, and it might kind of be along with what, in the books that you've mentioned and stuff. There's more than once that I've tried to get off sugar and it didn't. There was other times that it didn't work. And one time was when I tried, like you said, getting rid of grains and sugars and obvious starches, but I was still eating fruit. And I
Hmm.
was miserable for about 3.5 weeks every day. Just all I wanted to do all day long was to go get some chocolate cake, and I was a miserable, depressed, and the craving never went away. And I finally gave up and gave in and just went
Yeah.
back to what I was doing. So that didn't work. It was like, yeah. And so for me, I had to not only, like you, remove fruits as well. Like, yeah, you had to remove all of the things. Um, I had found that eating a high fat in conjunction was necessary, and I've had to do that a couple times.
Hmm.
And for me, that combination, not just going low carb but also eating higher fat,
Hmm.
like, that's what made the cravings go away the fastest. And it's
When I finally got to where I knew by taking, my blood ketones,
yeah.
I knew that I was in ketosis. I started realizing all the things. I felt very calm.
Cool.
I don't have that struggle and that fight
Yeah.
to keep going in the right direction.
Yeah.
I thought that I would grieve a lot about the fruit. I
Yeah.
mean, come on, it's a fruit.
Right. Yeah, it's supposed to be healthy. Yeah.
It's supposed to be healthy and good
Yeah.
for you and all that. But the
Yeah.
other thing, as you were talking, I was thinking about is now when, like, if my husband cuts up an apple, I give myself permission with fruit to
Yeah.
have one slice.
Sure. Yeah.
It is so sweet.
Yeah.
It's like candy.
Yeah.
Um, and even your taste buds
It
will change.
changes, huh? Yeah.
It's almost like if you consume too much sugar, it's never good enough. And
Right.
so your body actually wants a higher level of sugar.
Right.
And so you consume more to try to get that sweet flavor, but it's
Right.
never enough. It's
Right.
like, I guess, like drugs.
Right.
You got to go for a higher level and a higher
Right.
level. And instead of just smoking it, now you got to inhale it.
Yeah,
you
totally.
know?
Yeah, yeah. And it's true too that, like, yeah, there's so many things it affects because before, when I was eating that way, I just didn't care to eat other healthy foods because, yeah, the taste was just so, like, yeah, like the cookies and the ice cream, like that just tastes so good to me. And it was like
Yeah.
trying to eat a salad before or after or whatever it was just like so unappealing, didn't taste good. And then now, like, I can't seem to get enough of kale salad. And because, like you said, your body adapts and it changes. And then small, like, these healthier foods, all of a sudden you love them and that becomes what you crave.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and I have over the last year, I have collected recipes that there's nothing that I can't make that can replace something that I used to eat.
Yeah.
You know,
Cool.
I when I loaded this time, it was the first time that I intended and I successfully loaded a clean load.
Cool.
I did not have sugars or starches,
Cool.
and I made myself some coconut milk ice cream,
Cool. Cool.
and I was so satisfied.
Yeah.
Um, so really, when I get off this round, I'm on day 17 of another round of HCG, and I don't have, because it's a lower fat time in my walk through my journey, I don't quite have as calm of a feeling as I did when
Right.
I was on high fat.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to be able to make anything I want
Yeah.
with my recipes that I have that are
Yeah.
no sugars and no starches.
Yeah. Well, so tell me a little bit about that with because you have a really, really complete Pinterest account. Tell me like when you pin stuff like some of these recipes, what types of ingredients do they have, that are alternative that you like to use and
Well, my intention when I first started out was no sugars and no starches, P3. It was a P3 cookbook, and over time, there's a little addition into the ketosis, the high fat. Now I just yesterday added a new board for just fat bomb.
cool, cool.
And I'm finding that there are a lot of recipes that just with one ingredient we can tweak it and change it so that it can be more P3.
Right.
A lot of recipes are just right, but they use honey, and I choose not to use honey as my sweetener.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it. It is a P3 cookbook. There's over 2,000 recipes now, and
Wow.
there's like 55 chapters, if you will. So
Cool.
it's super organized with um, with categories. So you can look in one board and there's all your seafood
Awesome.
and all there's lots of dessert
Yeah, yeah.
chapters,
Yeah, totally.
still.
Good. That's good. Yeah, and we'll put a link also to that her Pinterest account so that you guys can check that out because I really do think that that is one of the essentials is replacing. Yeah, you can't
Replacing.
just take away a bunch of stuff you can't eat anymore and then now you don't know what do I
And
eat.
yeah, but here's the deal: is I was on, starting January 1st, I had freedom to cook anything that was in that cookbook, and I didn't want to make a sweet dessert because
Cool.
I wasn't craving it.
That's so
But
cool.
I didn't get up and say, "Gosh, I'd really like to have a cheesecake today."
Yeah.
Okay, so go to my Pinterest account, make a
Cool.
cheesecake.
Cool.
No, I because there was no cravings.
Yeah.
You
Cool.
know,
That's
so
great.
that's a victory.
Yeah, that is awesome. That is awesome. And I do think that like yeah, having the practical tools to make that scenario happen where you're not craving it anymore. I honestly feel like it's an essential part of the process,
Hmm.
because I just feel like at some point with the other times I tried in a way that didn't work, at some point you can only go so long feeling like
Yeah,
that every day before eventually I mean,
yeah.
it can only last so long. So, yeah, you have to get to that point where this change your body has embraced it and like, okay, this feels good. This is,
Yeah.
that's cool. That's good.
Well, and if anybody is interested in the nutritional ketosis, you
Yes.
do find a lot of the HCGers that are doing it now.
Yeah.
But Maria Emmerich has a new book called Keto Adapted,
Okay, cool.
and I'll put a plug in for her
Yeah.
because it's pretty easy to understand.
Good, good. Yeah, because I was actually going to ask you that. Yeah, so for anyone who feels like they're addicted to sugar and wants to get off, because I really recommend this, like before starting HCG, if you have a sugar addiction, try to take care of that first. Because like you
Absolutely.
said, on HCG you can't have fats. So that kind of makes the whole getting off sugar thing more difficult because I did find I had to have high fat to get the
Yeah.
cravings to go away. So yeah, tell us the are there any other books? You said Keto Adapted.
Well, Dr. Ron Rosedale has the book called The Rosedale Diet. That would be good for people who are diabetic.
Okay, the
But
Rosedale Diet.
definitely, my two favorite books last year was Fat Chance by Ron Lustig, and
Yeah.
also I can't say his name, but we all know it. It's a Grain Brain.
Okay.
The book, The Grain Brain,
Okay, the
and
Grain
then
Brain.
Maria Emmerich, her book Keto
Keto
Adapted,
Adapted. Okay.
and um,
Good.
yeah, back to what you were saying about I think I'm having an awesome round this time,
Cool. Cool.
and I think it's because in January, I got rid of the sugars and starches, so I was practicing P3 eating.
Yeah.
And then 3 weeks, February 13th, I started my round March 7th. So February 13th, I went into the keto adapted mode
Great.
and really got keto adapted before I started this round.
Cool.
And I have broken all my records on weight loss
Wow.
on this
Awesome.
round.
That is so fantastic.
Yeah, and then the other one was Nora Gedgaudas. And Jimmy Moore has interviewed her. There's
Okay.
a couple of, and I'll give you some links to
Sure.
her.
Great. Does she have a book or it's like a website
She
or?
does, and it's a paleo book, but
Okay.
she just got a new publisher to take that book because she's added all the keto part
Great.
to it.
Great.
And so she now has a book about that starts. It's something that says paleo, but I'll give you a link to that as well.
Great. Okay, good. So for everybody watching, if you want to like investigate this more, we'll put all the links to everything we talked about for you guys to be able to check into it. So thank you so much for sharing all that because I think the more people you hear from of something that worked and then something that didn't work, it will help people to just make their own choice about like what should I try, and yeah. So.
Yeah, I really didn't know how addicted I was until I'm not addicted now.
Yeah. Right.
I didn't know how bad it was.
Yeah, because that's kind of like all you knew in a sense, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's all I knew. Grew up in a candy factory.
Oh my goodness. Well, cool. I'm so glad to hear that, and I'm so glad your round's going so well too. That's great.
Yeah, I'm just going to do a 30-day round, but that's going to be great for me. And
Cool.
the inches. Oh, can I say one more
Sure,
thing?
of course. Yeah.
Okay, so actually the dress that I am wearing now is just a house dress I wear around the house. And at Christmas time, it was snug around the waist.
Yeah.
I don't like things that touch me because I'm used to wearing baggy clothes. And so from January 1st until February 13th, I did not lose 1 pound, but I lost like 6 inches in my waist.
Wow, that is amazing.
And that's all because I got the inflammation out of my body.
Right, that's amazing. That's cool.
Huge difference. Just getting rid of the grains, the things that cause you inflammation,
right.
you will lose inches, and you can find that on the Facebook if you go to like even Wheat Belly. Wheat Belly, if you like Wheat Belly or something, they'll show people before and after, and it's not so much all the pounds, it's the inches that people are losing.
Right. And I agree with that too. Even me, like there's foods that do cause me inflammation, and if I have a little bit, I'll actually have a little gain on the scale. I mean, it has nothing to do with fat or it's inflammation, that your body gets inflamed a little bit, and if I take it back out, it goes back. And it's not that I'm eating too many calories, it's just the actual foods, the ones that I'm not sensitive to don't produce that, and then the ones I am, if I kind of keep eating them, I will notice, it's like some bloating and yeah, it's interesting. So
all right, listen, I am halfway in my journey. Thus far, I've lost 100 pounds, and I am looking forward to my interview with you when I've lost my 200.
Yes, I'm so excited about that. I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, someday I'll be sitting here 100 pounds less than I am right now, and we'll be talking about my whole
journey, and I fully believe it. Yeah, I'm excited. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you, and thanks for listening, everybody, and just make yourself knowledgeable about who you are as a being, and you'll see some results.